Um, all right, so hello everyone. My name is Philip. I am a IFS practitioner and a teacher, healing teacher. My pronouns are they, them, and yeah, like I said, I've been, I'm really honored to host you all here today. It's my first webinar as thank you so much. So I really appreciate your patience as you're witnessing a work of progress today. Thank you so much for your answers. So just before I hit the recording, I asked the folks what kind of brought you to this webinar. And so you can maybe see some of the responses in the chat. So without further ado, I my PowerPoint that I prepared for you today. It's kind of what I prepared today is kind of like a classical lecture, so you can kind of like sit back and enjoy. I'm gonna try and go for not too long, maybe 30 to 45 minutes. And then at the end, there'll be time for some gifts and questions, of course. I would love to hear your thoughts. Um, and so, yeah, the webinar, as you all know, is called How Healing Your Inner Children Can Decrease Stress and Anxiety and Unlock Clarity, Purpose, and Abundance. And yeah, let's begin. So I chose today to start with a quick story about a magical kitchen because I love magic and I love kitchens and I love cooking. So it seemed like a great thing to do. I'll be reading this story because it's not mine. I'll tell you where it's from after. And it will take about like 6 or 7 minutes. So just so you know what you're in for. Okay, so let's go. Now, imagine that you inherited from your parents a magical kitchen in your home from which you can obtain any kind and quantity of food. Because your parents fed you unconditionally, you learned to do the same with your many children. They're happy because they love your food. Your food is so nourishing and satisfying that they never overeat or crave candy or other kinds of junk food. You never use food to punish or motivate them. Consequently, they trust that they're worthy of being well fed just because they're your children. They don't fight because each one knows there's plenty of food for everyone. You also give freely to friends, neighbors, and those in need of food, just for the pleasure of sharing. You know that you don't need to hoard because your food supply never runs out. Then, one day, a man or a woman knocks on your door and offers your children a steady supply of pizza and candy if they will take care of him or her emotionally. Because you and your kids are so full and you can see that he doesn't take good care of his own kids, your response is, no, thank you. We have plenty of food of our own. On another day, a different man or a woman knocks. He's like you in that he has many children whom he feeds generously and who are happy and satisfied. He's attracted to the cuisine of your magical kitchen, but he doesn't need it because he likes to cook and has plenty of food of his own. His children love playing with yours and would like to live in your house, but because they know that he will take care for them no matter what happens with you, they trust him to decide where to live. You invite him to share your home, and you love how much the two of you enjoy each other's cooking. Both sets of children relish the mixed cuisine that now comes from your kitchen. Now, imagine you live in a different household. You're very poor and have little food for your children. Because they're starving, the youngest and weakest of your kids cry all the time and beg you to find someone to feed them. Their desperation drives you crazy, and you lock them in the basement so that they aren't always in your hair and you're not always reminded of their suffering. That's the way your parents taught you to handle problem children. As hard as you try to ignore the sobs of those young ones, however, you can still hear them through the floorboards. The urgency of their need is like a constant gnawing in the back of your mind. Some of your older children lose trust in your ability to take care of the family. They take on adult-like responsibilities, prodding you to work harder, trying to contain or calm the ones in the basement, and searching for food. Because these older ones aren't equipped to handle this level of responsibility, they become rigid and controlling. They're constantly critical of your work habits and performance, and they expend enormous amounts of energy trying to keep the basement children at bay. As the guy with the pizza and candy heads towards your door, the basement children smell the food before he arrives. They go insane with joy at the prospect of being fed and possibly released from their exile. They idolize the candy man and are willing to do anything to please him. You and the older kids are hungry, exhausted, and impressed by how happy the candy man makes the basement children feel. The possibility is very appealing of no longer having to deal with them and instead letting them attach to someone else. Consequently, despite some misgivings about the guy's demands and the poor quality of his food, you and the older children agree to satisfy his emotional needs in return for steady meals. He turns out to be abusive at times, but your younger kids fear starving and being returned to the basement. Also, while he's increasingly stingy with the pizza and candy, the younger kids are addicted to it. Every time you bring up the topic of throwing him out, they override you. Now, imagine that the food in this story is really love, and the children are the different parts of you. If you identify with the first parent who has the magical kitchen, then you probably wouldn't be here. Okay? That's because when you love and accept your parts unconditionally, simply because they are in you, they won't be attracted by the false promises of certain other people. And when you find the right partner, your parts won't be so dependent, demanding, protective, or easily hurt that they create constant dramas or make you tolerate abuse. Instead, they each will love your partner in different ways, enriching your experience of intimacy, secure in the knowledge that if they're hurt by him, you are there for them and will deal with him. If you're like most people, like me and everybody else I know in the world, however, you learned from parents and peers to exile certain parts of you. Therefore, the basement of your psyche is filled with love-starved, vulnerable inner children. Because they get so little from you, they will be obsessed with finding someone they imagine can rescue them, and out of their desperation will blind you to that person's faults. So they're likely to make you pick Mr. Wrong or Mrs. Wrong, and then, because they're so needy and vulnerable, will either make you stay with that person too long, will overreact to perceived hurts from him, or will try to control how close or distant he gets to you or to the others. So where can you find the equivalent of a magic kitchen, a boundless fountain of love from which your parts can draw? It's in the last place you would ever think to look, yourself. So, so this is the story, and it's from a book called You're the One You've Been Waiting For by Richard Schwartz, who is the founder of IFS, the method that I'll be talking to you about today that helps us heal inner children in a safe and lasting way. So how was this story for you? Is anyone brave enough to share how their impressions or how it felt, or feel free to do it in the chat or on audio. Oh, Hazel, I'm so sorry. Yes, Hazel says it's too early to be crying like this. What a beautiful metaphor. Thank you so much. Yeah, and Jess says I thought the imagery was really, really fitting. Yeah. Yeah, so these I love the way that this particular story and talks about like our inner world and what happens in a way that is, you know, doesn't shy away from things that are really difficult, they're really challenging in our life, in our inner world, but that uh, at the same time, you know, provides or offers a vision, a optimistic possibility of an outcome. Okay, so let's go back to less like emotionally intense um, part of the lecture. So a little bit about me, just for you to understand, you know, who is talking to you if you don't already know me in person. I'm Philip. My pronouns are they, them. I was born and raised in the Balkans. I'm transgender, which means that I was born a girl and assigned female at birth. So I have a woman's body, but inside I feel like a man, and that's why um, I feel more masculine. So that's why I chose the name Philip. So that's my story. I'm a huge healing nerd and a healing practitioner. Thanks. Um, I grew up in Belgrade. I moved to France at 19 to study international security. And my intention with that was to change the world. Then I realized that in order to really change the world, I had to change myself from deep inside. So this is a little bit of the result of that. I also, you know, studying geopolitics and international relations, realized that all the conflict in the world is actually unresolved personal trauma playing out on a global stage because hurt people hurt people. And I've spent 7 years learning from world-leading experts on trauma, and I've trained in IFS and brain spotting to today be facilitating one-on-one healing. So this kind of work and also my what I can do for you, my services, are for you if you're a woman or queer or trans, if you're a creator or entrepreneur or like self-made or bootstrapped, if you're an overachiever, hello, guilty, type A, if you're a mom, I'm not a mom, but I relate a lot with other people who are moms, leader, problem solver, if you're neurodivergent, hello, different, intense, gifted, if you care about the world very deeply and also about the well-being of everyone around you, your community, your people. And also a little extra if you're an immigrant or corporate dropout, you're going to have fun. um, Also, if you're struggling with interpersonal relationship stress, exhaustion and setting boundaries or burnout, uh, um, with being different or atypical, with you know, self-esteem issues, second guessing or doubt, this is going to be extra useful for you because you know, I can share notes. um, so if you're going through these challenges though, I just want to kind of put things in perspective because sometimes when we talk about healing, there can be a very big emphasis on like what I'm doing as an individual, the healing work that I can do with my therapist and so on. But actually, there's several layers, there's several dimensions of the things that we're exposed to that influence our inner world, our mental health, our spiritual health. So one of those is definitely social. Whoops. Okay. So, okay. Um, so social things may be things like, sexism, racism, like colonialism, late stage capitalism that is destroying us all. Then, conflict, war, these big, huge societal phenomena that is happening to everyone collectively, but is very much, kind of crumbling down on us as well. So these are also things that influence us, that impact us, and that impact our mental health that we have to take into consideration and take into account when working when doing this healing work. There's also stuff that we inherit from our ancestors. So, for example, stuff that we inherited from our parents or grandparents or even further generations back. All these things that they lived through, the shit that they lived through, but that they just simply didn't have the opportunity, the tools, the privilege to process, and gets uh, passed down. And so we as kids pick it up, and it manifests in our life as well. So some of the stuff that we're dealing with is much deeper and older than just our own life. And then we also get to you know, the dimension of our own personal life. So emotional burns from our own story, from essentially what happened to in our life since we are 0 years old until now. So I just wanted to put this slide here to put it in context so that it's not like, you should heal all these things inside. It's we have to really take into consideration the bigger picture and perspective. So I want to talk to you now a little bit about internal family systems. Now, why this? It's because it's the name of a methodology that I was trained in working in, and that helped me a lot, that I believe in, and that is a safe and efficient way to heal our inner children and to, decrease anxiety and stress in our life and to unlock energy and clarity and connection. So what is internal family systems? Um, it was developed by a family therapist called Richard Schwartz in the 1980s in Chicago. It's a non-pathologizing and non-judgmental approach to healing and mental health. So non-pathologizing means that, when we have like a psychologist or a psychiatrist that goes and look into the manual and looks at our symptoms, says you have depression or you have bipolar or whatever, that's pathologizing. That's a pathology. And so internal family systems, or IFS, is non-pathologizing in that we don't really focus that much on the diagnosis or disorder. What we focus on is looking at the symptoms and what can the symptoms tell us? What if they are parts that have their own story and that we can talk to, right? Um, and so it's also non-judgmental. So the founder of IFS wrote a book called No Bad Parts. It's essentially the idea that all of us is good. None of us is fundamentally bad. Even those parts that are, um, you know, might be, difficult or we don't like, or that are, judgmental or, harmful to ourselves, to other people, they in their core have a good intention. And so that is something that we can connect on. That is something that we can, use to create a bridge and to really create more space and more harmony. It's also, I like to call it as a very intuitive and precise and spiritual approach to inner harmony. I really like this word precise because it's a really kind of surgical, precise way of introducing some rules in the inner world that make things that really make things better, like create more space, more harmony. Um, and IFS is essentially an idea that we're all made up of parts. So there's two kinds of parts. There's protectors, and then there's exiles. Exiles are inner children, so essentially parts of us that were wounded at some point, or parts that we have inherited. So that happened before our life, but uh, that we have picked up on the way. And their role is essentially to hold difficult emotions or memories um, for us in our system and to kind of hide them somewhere. And then the protectors, their role is uh, for for us to protect us from these difficult emotions, from getting in contact with them. And protectors, they can be two kinds. So they can be managers or firefighters. So managers are proactive protectors. So they're essentially parts that, they run our lives. They love, they have, rule books and to-do lists and, know what is socially acceptable and kind of, and this can be like an inner critic or a people pleaser or, a highly performing part of us that, will do great in the job or make a good impression and so on. And so their job is to kind of do everything strategically so that our inner children, our wounded parts, never get triggered, right? And when that inevitably happens, because it does, because they're there and they're hurting and they need attention, then we have the firefighters. This is like the second line of defense. And firefighters are reactive. So they are kind of the opposite of managers. They do not care about tomorrow, they don't care about consequences, out with the socially acceptable things. If we want to binge drink to forget, that's exactly what we're going to do. If we want to, like spend 3 hours on Instagram because we were triggered by something, that's the firefighter part is going to be that one that will make that happen. And so, it's a fun party inside. But what's really cool is that, oops. Okay, what's really cool is that there's also a thing inside the system called self energy. So essentially, self energy is a part of us that isn't a part. And I like to kind of understand it as a state in which we kind of feel compassion or connection or calm. And when we are able to direct that and relate with the parts uh, through from this energy, uh, healing happens inevitably. So this is a little bit about like my artistic rendering of the inner children or wounded part and a protector. So we might have a um, wounded part that is kind of carrying like difficult emotions like sadness or fear since we were like 3 years old, right? And it also feels very alone because it's like it's just hidden somewhere in the dark and it's like crying all the time and it's like no one knows how I feel, right? And then we may have a protector that says, I will protect you. I will, you see, like I will win awards or sorry, I will make a lot of money or I will have a great relationship to make you forget that you have these bad feelings of fear and sadness and so on. And so in IFS, what we do is we talk to the protector first and we say, hello, um, thank you so much for what you're doing and for what you've done for such a long time. I really appreciate you. And then we wait and we listen to how it's reacting to that. And it's really this waiting and listening and patience that makes the difference, because it is in that relating with the part that the parts can have space to relax, to allow something new to happen, for things to reorganize, for them to transform. And once we establish a relationship and a conversation, then we may ask the protector, you know, if there was a way, hypothetically, that this wounded part was helped and that it didn't feel, fearful and alone and sad anymore, but um, it felt loved, like it feels accepted and loved and content. So if it didn't, feel wounded anymore, what would you want to do if you didn't have to protect anymore? And then once the protector can kind of imagine that reality and say, well, yeah, Maria, go ahead. Oh, maybe it was a mistake. Let me know in the comments, or feel free to unmute and let me know. So yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, so essentially when we get when we establish a relationship with the protector in which the protector is like, okay, well, I kind of feel like there's someone behind the wheel, like, and that someone is you, right? Um, like, okay, I don't believe that you can help the wounded part, but I'm okay if you try. Okay, right? And then once we have the permission of the protector, then we can go to the wounded part, and we can then, carefully, um, calmly, with a lot of patience and attunement. So really understanding how this part is feeling, where they're at, what they're experiencing. We can start to establish a conversation, and we can start to um, maybe just open up to the wounded part, showing us what it needs to show us, or telling us its story. So how it got wounded. Just checking the time. And so once we're able to kind of really hear its story, then we and witness it, then we can offer it to kind of unburden this story. And there's, all kinds of specific things that we take care of in that process, that, I might talk about more if anyone is interested. But the best thing is to experience it. um, but what I feel very tender about is that it's really possible to hear the story of the wounded part, and to for the relationship with the wounded part to transform. And so for you to become the person who is carrying that story, for the part to become free from the burden of what happened, and free from carrying that and hiding that in your system. And that's essentially what unlocks new energy and clarity. Yeah. So I wanted to list out some of the testimonies here from the clients that I've worked with personally that have kind of told me this as a result of our work together with IFS. For example, I haven't connected these two things before. Now it's so clear. I have more understanding about the context of growing up. I'm able to express myself freely and I'm more confident in my progress. My emotions have become more stable as a result of our work together. I haven't felt this peaceful and content since I think forever. This has helped me to see that parts of myself I once wanted to change are actually important pieces of my experience. And this is kind of like the last piece is pretty kind of speaks about something that is important to me in this work is that when we heal the parts of ourselves that were wounded, then we can kind of help others do the same. And that's when I think for me, healing becomes political. So it's like you're not just healing yourself for your own life and your own benefit and whatever, but like you're healing everyone you come into contact with, or you're at least opening the up the pathway for them to um, to do that. So what becomes possible when we do this kind of work? This is a little bit of like the part where I kind of paint the picture of like how can your life look like when you know uh, when you in my opinion do IFS, but this is just you know so in your inner world, what can kind of shift and change? You can feel emotionally stable and mentally fortified when whatever challenges arise. Transform painful memories and thoughts into wisdom. You can actually use to lead your life, feeling all your cells that you're enough and that you already have within you your heart desires. This is my special gift to the world that kind of this quality of self-settledness. So whatever I'm looking for in the outside was whether it's love, validation, acceptance, praise, looking for a word. Um, a grateful, like being grateful that someone is grateful for you. I already actually have it in me. Like I have all that. What I'm looking for outside, I have it in me. Um, what becomes possible in your relationships? You can show up fully without losing yourself and defaulting to people pleasing, attracting the right partner, or deepening your current relationship because you're healing your relationship with yourself. Become a model of wholeness for your family, energetically supporting them to heal too. In your work, you can see yourself clearly as a leader in your field, in your community, attract aligned people who are your collaborators, clients, or friends who match your values, and integrate your career with your spiritual mission instead of living a split life. If you believe or are into the vibe of having a spiritual mission, it sounds a little loaded, but um, in your body, feel gorgeous in your own skin and motivated to care for your body. Yay. Sleep better and have 100% more good days in a year. And channel the energy you've been spending to survival into joy and creativity. So, yay. Hvala Maria. Um, so I have an offer for you today. So, I mentioned at the beginning that I do offer one-on-one services. So this is the main offer that I have for today. This is like a healing session with me. It would be one-on-one, 90 minutes on Zoom. So 60 to 90 minutes. It's the same. I like to take time, but so that's an option. We would use IFS, brain spotting, and somatic methods. We'd be also discussing your healing goals, and there's a possibility of doing a healing assessment. So kind of mapping out what are the things you're working on, what are the things that you've already done and achieved. This is some of the pricing. So the fee per session is 80 euros for the standard fee. This is a so it's 80 euros or the equivalent in your own currency. So either Canadian dollars or US dollars. And then I also have, as you can see, two different prices. So this is a sliding scale. So that kind of talks to people of different financial experiences. So there's a reduced one, and the big sister or big person or brother or whatever supporter. And so the way that you can kind of understand where you are in the sliding scale is by checking out the green bottle method. I will be sending this out after the call in the email, so you'll have time to kind of an opportunity also to read it on your own and figure out which tier works for you. But essentially, like the big sister tier is like if you have like financial investments and property, and reduced tier is if you know like have to kind of be careful about budgeting and basic needs and so on. Before I lose any of the people from the Balkans with these fees, I have to say that for the people from the Balkans and also people from the Global South, I have different prices just because the standard is different and it's not comparable. So when we get in touch, if you would like to work with me, I'd be also happy to tell you these prices, and we can discuss that. And for today, because you showed up and have kindly and graciously offered me an hour of your time, it is very precious. You get a gift. So the gift is a one free 45-minute session of IFS with me. If you please book in the next 48 hours, if that's okay. So yeah, I thought that it was really that it would make sense that if I'm telling you about IFS today, that it would only be right for you to be able to try it, because that's really how you can how you can um, yeah, how you can know if this is for you, and also how you can figure out if I'm the right person to work with. So Yelena just copied the link. Yeah, Jess, you're saying it's really one thing to learn about it and another thing entirely to experience it. Exactly. So the link is in the chat, so you can kind of open that and have a look at it after we finish. I will also be sending the link after the webinar to your email, so don't worry if you kind of don't catch it right now. And yeah, one more thing I wanted to say about really experiencing it. I was talking to someone earlier about this. For me, how I discovered IFS was really through a podcast. So I listened, there's a lot of free podcasts that kind of um, show like a demo and demonstration of an IFS session with someone. And that's a really good way to kind of really understand how that looks like in practice. And it's a great way to, to know if you like it. Another great way is obviously to try with me 45 minutes. Um, and yeah, and just wanted to kind of quickly go through some of these last couple slides before I open it up to questions. If you feel like you're not ready, it's totally cool. No problem. I was not ready to do this webinar, and here I am. So it's fine. And also, if you're if you're feeling like strongly that you're not ready, like could it be a part? And uh it's totally fine if it's a part. It's not a bad thing if it is a part. And it probably has a good reason why it's telling you, maybe I'm not ready. Is it that you've tried something like this before, or you know, therapy before didn't work or whatever? So how can we kind of get curious um about that reason? How come uh, you're not ready? And yeah. Um and also, I'm totally not asking to commit to a healing journey today. What you can commit to is 45 minute if you want. And so that's kind of my offer for today. And I also wanted to add another thing is kind of you know, if my approach to healing and how I do this work works really well if you already tried things like, therapy and self-help books and energetic healing and somatic approaches and yoga and meditation. And also if you haven't tried those things, that's totally fine. It still works. It just if you have tried these things, like, know that you're at home, like we're gonna have fun. So yeah, and yeah, so that's kind of a little bit from me that I've prepared. I would love to hear if you have any questions. Now would be the time to ask those. And then if you don't have the questions ready right now or don't feel like asking them um, in a kind of public place like this or in a recorded session, um, I'll also be sending you my email, so you'll be able to email me. Yay! Thanks, Hazel. Awesome. Excited to get in touch with you. Yay. Um, Sometimes people tell me when I prepare presentations that, oh yeah, no questions, you've covered everything. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that that also might be happening. Um, yeah, again, so like the offer for today is that if you book in the next 2 days is one free 45-minute session. You have the link in the chat. And then there's also another free offering that I would like to offer to you today. Um, it is, you're welcome. It is a healing circle. It's a free online event. So kind of like this, in terms of like, you just register and then you show up. It's on July 15th, but the difference is it's not going to be exactly like this. I'm not going to be like talking this much and you not talking a lot. It's more really a circle. And this is something that it's like a free online offering that I'm establishing. This is going to be the first one. And it really comes from the fact that, like, healing happens in community. And that, you know, we can do a lot of really important work and, becoming whole and figuring things out, like processing things, creating more harmony inside through one-on-one work. But the final stage, the final boss of healing is really when we can, show up in our community and say um, to them, be witnessed by our people, by our folks, um, in what we've been through and what we've processed, and the resilience that we've unlocked in our life story. And so this is also another offering that you can join. It's next week, Wednesday. So I'm seeing a couple of questions. Carol, thank you. So So do you give receipts for your paid sessions? Yes. There's a receipt. It's a kind of like the official one. So yeah. And how long does this process usually take, and what are the steps leading to full integration? Yeah, so this is a great question. So the process can take anywhere from like, 2 or 3 sessions to like a year. Um, so it really depends on your needs and where you're at. Sometimes I do like four 4 or 5 or 6 sessions, like each week, and then we kind of make a break because we kind of finish a chapter of something, and then we allow for some time for integration. This is why when we get into contact and you can book sessions with me, when we do an intake form, and then you can book sessions whenever you like. I kind of just allow folks to, book when they need. It's not like, let's meet uh, every week for the rest of your life so that you can, do your psychoanalysis thing. No, it's not like that. It's more that it's really on the basis of like what you need and where you're at. Another really important point of why this is so is that um like the healing happens, like your system knows when healing can happen and when it's available to you. So I'm not the one who knows how you should heal or what you should heal at one point. It's really, and IFS is also structured that way, that we really kind of listen to the system and listen to the wisdom and the intelligence that you have in yourself, and we work with that. So it really depends. Yeah. Amina, does that answer kind of your question a little bit, or let me know if you have other questions or okay. Hazel, would you be willing to share a little bit of your own personal experience with IFS as an example? Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, so I've already shared one thing in my blog on Substack. So for example, when I healed because I mentioned I'm transgender, and so uh, I knew that I was transgender when I was 3 years old, because a friend of mine, we were talking about something, and then I said something, and he said, "No, but you're a girl." And I was shocked. I was like, "What? How was that? This is like news for me, you know?" So I was really like shocked, and I was like, "Oh my God." And then because the environment that I grew up in and all that wasn't really affirmative of trans folks, and I was born in 1993. I just had to kind of hide that part of me that was kind of confused and like really bewildered by the fact that like no one knows that I'm a guy. And so years later, like basically I think until 2 years ago or something like that, I was in an IFS session, and I kind of got in touch with this like 3-year-old, and this 3-year-old was like this like uh, kid that was very cold, and it was stuck to my to like a part that connects my gallbladder and my stomach. Um, so there's like a part connecting it, and it was like really stuck there and like holding on to dear life like this, and like really frozen, and all these somatic things, like where it is, the temperature, uh like all of it. These are important pieces of information that our body, the wisdom of the body that is connected, that actually connects with the story, with the emotional um, part of the story. And so basically, yeah, I got in touch with it and I was like, oh my God, you need help. Like let me help you. And um so I helped it, in my mind in visualizing and kind of working with support to for it to go to a place where it felt better, where it felt safe. And this was a chalet in Switzerland with like a pool of water, but it's like a thermal water, like a banya, uh, warm water, naturally warm water. And it had like um, people around it that helped it heal. And it needed quite a lot of time to heal, to be there and just to kind of simmer and relax and rest because it was kind of really clenched and uh, confused for a long time like that. And so all of this, is a metaphor for actually me, being in the closet and being profoundly kind of confused about how, as a 3-year-old, to deal with the fact that like people don't know who I am and don't see me, right? And then today, since I'm out and I'm thankfully, free and able to live as my authentic self, um, that part can get uh, that part is free, is liberated. I don't know if this kind of I don't know if this was useful, but I hope so. Monique, my brain is curious how the typical session looks like. What's the flow, more or less? Thank you, Monique, for the question. Yeah, so the typical session, so we would kind of you know kind of catch up, just chat a little bit, and then when we decide to start, I would first start with a question of like, okay, so what needs to happen that you feel safe? Like what um are there any parts that have something to say, or are there any concerns, or are there questions, and so on. So we kind of create a safe environment. And then we usually start with the question of like, is there something you wanted to work on today? What happened during the week that was kind of interesting or intense or difficult? And so that's kind of where we would begin. And then things happen and then I have no idea what's going to happen, basically. And that's a part of my job, to like feel comfortable with feeling like I have no idea what's happening. Um, but you know, um, it can go several different ways, but essentially we would be, either either exploring what parts are there, or facilitating a conversation and relationing with one or several parts, either a protector, so a manager or firefighter, or um, facilitating a conversation and unburdening for an exile, for an inner child. I hope this answered your questions, Monique. Yeah, Hazel, yeah, the trust in the client to direct their own journey. That's really primordial. It's really crucial for IFS, and it was crucial in me choosing IFS as a methodology to get trained in. Hazel, thank you so much for sharing. Part of the reason I attended was to hear about the transplants, so really appreciate your openness. Yay, amazing. Um, and Carol, thank you sharing. Thank you so much for attending, Carol. Excited to chat with you. Beautiful. So it sounds like we're at the end of our questions. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second, and we're at time, so this is very good. Beautiful. Thank you so, so much for your time. I'm going to be sending you this video and all the other details. Um, and yeah, thanks.